So, I wanted to wish everybody out there a very happy holiday season. I'm going to start this episode of Life Talk, part of the Closing Tag Network, with a very special, very heartfelt happy holidays. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, Merry Festivus for the rest of you. Anyway, so by the time this episode drops, there will be 2 weeks remaining in the year 2023. And that typically means one thing. No, that's for the other podcast, the Tech Talk. And I've already expressed my opinion about that. No, I'm mostly talking about New Year's resolutions. I know a lot of people have very mixed opinions about New Year's resolutions, and I am one of them. I don't subscribe to the theory that we should wait until a particular time of year to set goals and to set sights on things that we want to do with our lives. I've probably spent more time talking about how to set goals and how to break down your goals into micro goals on this particular podcast than I have just about anything else. So I am going to table that rehash and that talk, and instead focus more on something else. So the idea of New Year's is that it's supposed to be a fresh start. And it's supposed to be something that we look forward to kind of say goodbye to the old and hello to the new. I mean, that's basically what New Year's Eve is all about. It's about a change of time, and it's about a change in our lives. But I don't subscribe to that either. Why should we wait until December 31st? Regardless of what year it is, regardless of whatever it is that we've done, why should we wait for a specific day to shed the old, to start fresh and start anew? It's like, I've had this discussion with my ex over the years about Valentine's Day. Why should we wait for a specific calendar year day to tell the people in our lives that we love them? I mean, why? Because Hallmark says we should? And it's the same thing with New Year's. Why should we wait for New Year's to start fresh? And I wanted to share a personal story. And it's a story that I have been very reluctant to talk about until recently. And I say that because by the way, I'm on LinkedIn. So if you want to look up Raul Smith on LinkedIn, maybe connect with me on there. I'll probably accept you. I accept just about any connection request on LinkedIn because I am still kind of new to how LinkedIn works and everything. So, I mean, granted, I won't have as visceral opinions on LinkedIn as I do on this podcast or on Facebook, but still. But there's one guy in particular that I follow on LinkedIn, and his name is Gary Vaynerchuk. You've probably heard of him. He's a media guru. He's done media and social media for just about every big company in the world. And he's also a motivational speaker, a very successful motivational speaker. He talks a lot about setting goals, and then talks a lot about, just because you're a certain age doesn't mean that your life is over, that you have no shot of achieving your dreams. I was listening to something they said earlier today about how just because you're 45, you're 55, that that doesn't mean that you should limit yourself. You still have a lot of time. And as someone who's quickly approaching 45, that resonated with me. That's not the story I wanted to tell you. A video that I watched very recently, like within the last week, was Gary talking to some guests on his podcast about the different types of motivation. And the different types of motivation are light motivation and dark. Kind of like if you're a Star Wars fan, he even equated it to Star Wars. It's like if you're a Star Wars fan, you realize that there are two sides of the Force. There's the light side, the Jedi side, and then there's the Sith, the dark side, the Darth Vader. And with motivation, it's the same way. You can have your light motivation. Your motivation can be based on, gratitude and happiness and achieving the things that you want to achieve that make you happy. You also have your dark motivation. And dark motivation isn't entirely based in, like material things, like I want a fancy car, or I want the fancy house on the hill and shit like that. Sorry. I just broke one of the rules of this podcast. Stuff like that. So the dark motivation isn't entirely just for that. It can also mean that you're using the wrong kind of motivation to achieve these goals. With light motivation, you have love, and you have gratitude, and you have empathy, and you have like, say you're doing this for your own well-being, and you're doing this for the right reasons. With dark motivation, you're doing everything that you're doing in your life to prove to people that what they say about you is wrong, and to basically stick it to them and say, well, you think this of me, I'm going to show you that you're wrong, and here's why. And while that's good to have that type of motivation for a while, or for like 2 or 3 instances, it can lead to a very dark place if you use it too much. And using it to then kind of fester it more into your psyche, where you're trying to prove to yourself and trying to prove to your own inner thoughts that what they're saying about you is wrong, that you're not the type of person that they're talking about. You're not a delinquent, you're not a drug addict, you're not this, you're not that. And it can lead to a lot of bad coping mechanisms. It can lead you to deal with grief, for instance, in very unhealthy ways. It can lead you to push away people in your life. It can lead you to get too lost into work and into projects and into everything else in your life that frankly doesn't really matter, and lose sight of family, lose sight of spending time with loved ones, lose sight of spending time with your friends, lose sight of things that legitimately make you happy. And the reason I bring all of this up is that basically describes my life over the last 25, 26, 27 years. So, a lot of people don't know this about me. I get a very, how do I put this in a way that isn't going to knock this podcast off of a PG rating? A very unhealthy amount of satisfaction from proving naysayers wrong. I have been labeled a lot of things over the years. And not very many people know about this, but I was actually in the United States Air Force for about 5 months, maybe less than that. And on the day that I was basically shipped out of security training, I passed basic training, but I was being trained to be an MP, a military police officer, in San Antonio, Texas. And the day that they shipped me out, because there were some medical issues back then that they did not know, A, how to resolve, or B, how to diagnose, and they weren't going to take the time and the taxpayer money to figure it out. So they just basically decided, well, this guy's not worth it. We're just going to ship him back home. On the day that they shipped me out, I was approached by one of the drill sergeants. One of the drill sergeants had basically told me in no uncertain terms that, in his opinion, I would be nothing more, or I would amount to nothing more in my life than flipping burgers. Use the analogy that you're going to be a burger flipper for the rest of your life. Fast forward to 2008. So about 10-ish years later, I am being processed to go to jail. Again, I'm not going to divulge into the reasons why I went to jail. Those are publicly accessible records. So if you want to know more about it, Weber County, Utah, you can look up the records there. I served 30 days in jail. The first, last, and only time I have ever been booked or processed in the legal system. And I'm proud to say that. I'm proud to say that my legal issues in that regard have ended there for now. But the day that I was scheduled to leave jail, to leave the jail system, I heard one of the, not really wardens, but like one of the police officers that was running the county jail, make a snide comment about how I was going to be back soon. That was 2008 or 2009. It's 2023, soon to be 2024. So 14 years. I haven't been back since. I also was told by a former employer that I would be nothing more than a grunt worker, that I would not have what it takes to be a full stack developer. And I have been told by numerous people that because of the circumstances behind me going to jail back in 2009, that I would never amount to anything ever again in my life. And I have used every single instance of someone telling me I can't do something as motivation for, well, you know what? F you. I'm going to do it. I'm going to prove you wrong. And when Gary Vaynerchuk was saying stuff about dark motivation, how, people use this dark motivation and eventually it fizzles out, that it only gets you so far, it resonated with me in a way that I don't think I've ever heard anybody explain what's been going on with me over the last 5 years. Because over the last 5 years, I've felt that I've gotten a little, I don't want to say complacent, because I've been doing a lot more, training a lot more, expanding my skill set, expanding my horizons a little bit. I mean, that's part of the reason why I'm doing a podcast in the first place. But not having the right motivation to do what I want to do. And when he was saying that, it really struck a nerve. Not in a really bad way, but like in a way that, holy crap, this guy is talking about my life and he doesn't even know it. So the other reason why, I felt like this resonated with me is because I have pushed away friendships. I have pushed away relationships. I have pushed away family. I have pushed away friends. I have pushed away a lot of things that bring joy into my life to focus on work, focus on projects, focus on what's in front of me. And I even use that as kind of not really an excuse or a cop out, but more as a crutch to not properly grieve certain events in my life. Whether it's a bad breakup, whether it's me having to move, whether it's, the death of a loved one, whether it was the death of my father, whether it was, me losing a 5-year relationship. All of that was kind of not really pushed aside, but more bottled up to where I didn't know how to properly grieve other than, well, time to put my head down and get back to work. And when I heard Gary Vaynerchuk say something about that, it hit me. It hit me hard. So I wanted to share that in hopes that maybe someone that's listening to this that doesn't listen to Gary Vaynerchuk, or somebody that's watching this, or somebody like a friend or a close one, can maybe understand a little bit more about, why I've done some of the things that I've done over the years. It's nothing malicious. Um, it's nothing intentional. I don't intend to lose friends and lose family members and lose, you know, things. It's just something that I knew how to do. And yes, I've taken precautions and taken the necessary steps over the last 2-3 months, including this podcast, that I feel kind of help to balance out some of the good and the bad that's going on. Um, and I think that's a pretty big example of not waiting until New Year's to make really significant positive changes in your life. If there's something that you don't like about yourself, maybe you have a short temper, maybe you have a habit that you want to kick, whether it's smoking or drinking or, you know, biting your nails or picking your nose. It's another one that I've had to deal with over the years, picking my nose. Whether it's sleeping habits, staying up all night, whether it's drinking too much coffee. Yeah, I'm one to talk about that, huh? Um, Whether it's being on your phone too much. Again, I have room to talk on that one. um, but no, if it's a thing that you want to, it doesn't have to be like a significant thing like I was just talking about, where you realize there's a motivational trigger, or there's a motivational thing that you want to change about yourself. Even if it's something small, start today. Don't wait until New Year's. Start today. Start yesterday if you can. I don't know if we'll ever achieve time travel, but start as soon as possible. And make that positive change in your life. Make that positive change today rather than waiting until New Year's to have some arbitrary event tell you, hey, it's time to make your New Year's resolutions, time to make those changes in your life. If you want to go to the gym more, go to the gym more today. Don't go for 2 weeks after New Year's and then call it quits. Again, that kind of ties again into the whole proper motivation. Having the proper motivation in your life is a huge, huge, huge help in terms of having the right motivation to do the things that you want to do in life. The reason why people give up on New Year's resolutions so soon after January 1st is because their motivation's wrong. That's really the only reason. So I hope that you take to heart everything that I have said over the last 25 minutes, because that's what this podcast is for. That's what Life Talk is for. It is for situations like this, issues like this, where maybe there's somebody out there that is going through the same thing that I'm going through, or maybe there's somebody that needs to hear something like this, and in that vein, I hope that everybody that's listening to this shares this video, shares this podcast with their friends, with their family, with their loved ones, and lets them know, like, hey, you need to listen to this guy. He's talking a lot about some of the things that you're going through, or some of the things that you may want to hear as far as making positive changes in your life. One positive change I'm probably going to be making, probably sooner than later, is I want to create an actual vision board, not just something that I can view on my computer screen, but something that I can maybe view on this wall back here behind me, where I can look at it every day and be like, okay, that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. All right, let's go. But no, seriously, I do want you guys to share the podcast with as many people as you can. And hopefully it resonates with people. If this podcast can help make positive changes in at least 5 people's lives, they can be 5 of my friends, they can be 5 of my family members, they can be 5 complete strangers for all I care. If it makes change in at least 5 people's lives, I feel like I will have done a great service to the world. And that is proper motivation for me to continue to do what I'm doing. And that is proper motivation to make the change. I mean, you've heard the phrase, be the change you want to see in the world, right? I want this podcast to be the change that I want to see in the world. So, on that note, I want to thank you guys for listening, for downloading, for watching, for donating, for doing everything you can to support this endeavor. Your efforts do not go unnoticed, so thank you. And if you're listening to this on Spotify, leave a review. I want to hear what you guys think about the new format. It's been about a week, maybe week and a half, since I've changed the format up on the podcast, so I really want to hear your guys' input and your guys' thoughts. Also, if you're watching this on Facebook, like, share, comment, share with friends, share with family, share with everybody you can think of. This podcast, this post on Facebook is publicly accessible, so you can share with anybody you want. Even people that I've personally blocked on Facebook if you want. Just saying. You can also comment. You can also go on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications. That way, if a new video drops, you are one of the first people to be notified of that. Technically, theoretically, YouTube's kind of finicky about that sort of thing. But in theory, you should be well aware of when a new video drops if you're subscribed to the channel. So, all that said, I wrap up the year 2023, and I will see you guys on the flip side of this year in the year 2024 for Life Talk. I mean, I'm still going to do some of the other podcasts. Sports Central is getting hit pretty hard. There's also some talk I want to do about politics on News Desk. So, keep an eye out for that as well. But yeah, that's going to wrap up 2023 for Life Talk. I hope to have something fresh for you next time that I see you guys on Live Talk. So until then, take care, guys. And as I always say at the end of these episodes, remember to include your closing tags. Thank you, guys.